Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor, and we'd like to do a bit of an update on the various charges that Donald Trump is facing right now in various jurisdictions between Manhattan, U.S. court in Washington, D.C., and of course down in Georgia. I think there's also a federal court in Florida. It's hard to keep track. I think that's the whole point here. They're piling on a lot of charges to just taint and overburden the Trump campaign and make you, the people, the voters, feel like there's just something so odious about this man that even if he's not found guilty, well, we couldn't possibly vote for him. It's kind of scary, isn't it, when the law can be used in such a way? Joining us right now is Joe DeGenova, former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. And I just want to start there, Joe, because I know that you revere federal law. You revere the Justice Department and our system of jurisprudence in this country. And what we've witnessed in the last couple of months, I mean, you tell me, I feel sick to my stomach when I see how the law is being used so politically here.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt, Larry, that the Democrats have crossed the line that we have not seen in the 250 years of this republic. They have literally weaponized and politicized federal law enforcement in a way that none of us ever could have anticipated. We would always say, sure, you might find a bad U.S. attorney or somebody bad inside the bureaucracy of DOJ, but always the agents would save us. The core people at the career level would save us. Those bets are now all off because it is clear that the corruption at the DOJ, the IRS, the Treasury Department, and the FBI goes from top to bottom. We now know that agents of the FBI were subverting investigations into Hunter Biden, that they tried to corrupt an investigation by the Delaware U.S. Attorney by withholding information, by leaking information to the New York Times, false stories, to create misimpressions about evidence. They hid vital clues, such as the famous FD 1023. When you go back and look at the last several years, what you have is federal law enforcement rotten from top to bottom. And anyone who doesn't believe that, who's ever been a federal officer, is lying to themselves because they want to protect the institution.
And Joe, specific to these charges now from Special Counsel Jack Smith with regard to President Trump's behavior after the election and prior to January 6th, if I'm arrested and I'm charged with crimes and I publicly announce that I think that the charges are bogus and I think the judge is biased and I'm not getting a break, I mean, that can all be used against me in a court of law, I would think. What is Jack Smith's concern about Donald Trump speaking publicly on social media about this case? Why shouldn't he be allowed to publicly defend himself? They're trying to rip away his First Amendment rights now, too?
Well, what they've done is, by charging him in multiple jurisdictions, 2 federal cases, they've had the opportunity to get what are called conditions of release. Every time he gets in front of a judge, he has to either post a bond or get a personal recognizance. But in addition, there are conditions of release that the judge imposes about your conduct. One of the conditions is that Trump is not supposed to be talking about the witnesses, the evidence, trying to intimidate people. They have done that purposely. And when I say they, that's Jack Smith, the judges in Georgia, the federal judge in Washington, D.C., Tanya Chutkan, because what they're going to do now is, and they've already filed papers, they're going to say that his public speaking at his various events for his campaign are interfering with jury selection. He's trying to taint the jury pool. No matter how much information they have leaked up till now, they are saying that Donald Trump is responsible for tainting the jury pool, and they are going to get a gag order to shut him up. In addition, they may impose fines on him, or Judge Chutkan has it within her to lock him up for contempt of court, or at least hold a proceeding to hold him in contempt. So this is all about controlling him during the election cycle to shut him up. And if anybody needed any further evidence that this is election interference, this should be the killer.
So let me just understand something here. First of all, he's running for office, so he can't make up if he gives an interview and they ask him about the charges. If he's at a debate stage and they ask him about the charges, he's supposed to say, I can't say anything. Judge says not. That's the court system interfering in the electoral process.
That is exactly correct. And Judge Chutkan and Mr. Smith and Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray will all say, that's not our problem. You can run for president. You just can't do these certain things.
Yeah.
Well, of course, they're trying to stop him from talking about the single most important offensive action taken against him by his opponent, the President of the United States, using the Department of Justice as a weapon in a re-election campaign. This is the evil of this. This is why when the Democrats used the federal criminal justice system to attack their most serious opponent, they created a monstrosity. They are killing the Constitution. They are destroying American politics as we know it, and they don't care.
Joe, there's another, I mean, if everybody listens to the last 6 minutes of what you've laid out here, I'm sure they're catching the irony here that FBI agents and informants at the Justice Department can anonymously leak whatever they want to the Washington Post, to the New York Times, to cable and broadcast networks. It gets trumpeted worldwide. And it taints the jury pool. It intimidates witnesses. It changes the public narrative about these cases, all anonymously and all illegally leaked. But Donald Trump, the man who's accused, can't go on Twitter or social media and write 240 characters saying that he's innocent. That's outrageous.
That's exactly right. It is outrageous. That's exactly what's going on. The federal government has been using its agents and operatives to illegally leak grand jury information to the press, to create prejudice against Donald Trump, pretrial, now post-indictment, pretrial prejudice, to do what? To influence a potential jury pool in 4 jurisdictions, New York, Washington, D.C., Fulton County, Georgia, and Miami, Florida. It is a despicable abuse of power, not a word from the American Bar Association. All the federal judges keeping mum. All they are doing is, because they all hate Trump, I don't care who they are, I don't care what party they're from, they are ignoring the reality of an assault on the electoral system. It's disgraceful. And there's not much that can be done about it unless the Republicans pick up the cudgel in the House of Representatives, but they can only do so much. This requires a free and honest press, which we do not have anymore.
It also requires an election. If the American people can get so fed up and so angry about this that they throw this entire government out and replace it. Here's the problem. The court dates. I've seen the court dates that these judges have set up and what the prosecutors want. They all coincide with significant dates in the primary season coming up next year. How can we have a fair election with all of this happening?
Well, you can't. These court dates are purposely designed by these judges to interfere with the election cycle. There is no need for these trials to be held right now. They've had their affected damage that they wanted done by having the indictments brought. And by the way, I don't believe that the president's legal team can properly prepare for 4 separate trials in the timeframes that have been given. And they're going to have to start arguing that they cannot be ready, that these trial dates are unacceptable, that they won't be ready, and that the court cannot force them to go to trial when they are not ready. And they have to have this into a massive case that they can do not only publicly for public relations purposes and convincing the public how outrageous this is to control them, but to let the court system, the higher court system, the people who sit on the Supreme Court, who read the papers every day, to understand what is being done to destroy the impartiality and fairness of the jury trial system, and to taint all jurors in all of these various jury pools all over the country. Yeah. It's truly remarkable. This assault is just remarkable.
Meanwhile, the FBI and the Justice Department had possession of Hunter Biden's laptop a full 2 years before the events of January 6th. Everybody think about that for a minute, and still no charges. Thank you, Joe. Great talking with you as always. Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
There's more to come on O'Connor Tonight. Keep it here on Salem News Channel.